Hi guys, it's Katie from Homo Librariensis, if I could learn to say the name of my own channel. So today I want to talk about my hold list at the library. So I don't know how your library does it, but my library allows you to check out or to put books on hold, and then when they're ready, they'll be dropped off at the branch of your choice, and then you get 7 days to pick them up. So right now I have 11 books on hold. I try to sort it out so that I have a few books on hold that will come available right away or fairly quickly. And then I try to have a few that who knows when they'll come up, when they have a long wait list. Usually I don't put a book on hold unless I'm ready to read it either right away or it has a really long hold list because it's really popular. Otherwise, I'll kind of put them on my for later shelf that our library lets us have. So I figured I'd just go over what I have on my list. Looks like the closest book to being available is Ask Me About My Uterus, A Quest to Make Doctors Believe in Women's Pain by Abby Norman. I think I first heard about this on Acacia Ives' channel. It sounds like an important book that addresses women's issues. The next book I have on my list is Fresh Water by Akwaeke Emezi. I think this is another book I heard about from Acacia Ives' channel. She read it recently and said it was a good representation of dissociative identity disorder, or DID. I'm always looking for more books to read about mental health, especially those that are considered good representations. The next book I have on my list is My Brother's Husband by Gengaro Tagame. I'm looking forward to this graphic novel as a representation of gay life in Japan. I haven't heard much about how LGBTQ people fare in Japan or what the culture thinks or how they're treated. I recently read My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness. It's a graphic novel about a young woman in Japan coming to terms with her sexuality and how that's accepted and how it's acknowledged in the culture around her. The next book I have on my list is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. And this one is one that when I went to find it at the library, they didn't have a copy of it yet. So I requested that they purchase it, and they have done so. There were probably other people requesting the same thing at the same time, since I would be quite surprised if the library didn't get a copy of this, but it has now been purchased, and I am, I think, third on the wait list for 3 copies. The next book that I just added to my library hold list was Don't Call Us Dead by Danez Smith. I heard about this on another booktuber's channel, and they just said that the imagery and the language in this book of poems, this poetry collection, is incredible. The next book I have is The Stranger Beside Me by Ann Rule. This is where Ann Rule details the crimes of Ted Bundy. I believe this also includes the story of how Ann Rule was already personally acquainted with Ted Bundy at the time, and despite the fact that he had fit a lot of the criteria, like owning a gold Volkswagen, I believe, she still didn't put the pieces together. She, being a famous crime writer, could not believe that this person was actually capable of committing the crimes that he was accused of, and now convicted. The next book on the list is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne, and all this time I'm trying to link them up here, but if I don't figure it out, then they won't be there. I think I'm 24th on the list for 10 copies, so it's obviously a fairly popular book, but with 10 copies it shouldn't take me too long to get my hands on it. The one I'm really looking forward to, and I might have to wait a while for, is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo-Lodge. This has been all over BookTube lately and the media in general. This year I'm trying to put an emphasis on Black authors and authors of color. I just finished reading Stamped from the Beginning, which is a book that follows the history of the treatment of Black people in the United States from the beginning of slavery all the way until the present day. And I'm also just started because after I read this book, I wanted to know, is there another book that's similar about Canada? And so I put a book on hold at the library called Policing Black Lives, and it actually follows a similar trajectory. It looks at the state of Black life and the way that the state has treated, or the government has treated, Black people in Canada since the earliest time, since the first Black people arrived and were enslaved in Canada, and it follows it up until the present day. I'm learning that we don't have anything to brag about when it comes to our history. of racism here in Canada. I have The Power on the list by Naomi Alderman, and I forgot that I think I should just take it off because a friend of mine got a copy of it for her birthday, so she said I could borrow it because she's already read it. So I'm taking The Power off the list, but I'm actually definitely going to read it. And the last one on the list is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. And typically I don't read a lot of YA, but I do love Harry Potter, and this has been compared many times to Harry Potter. Also, it's just a really cool Own Voices story, and it's been getting so much hype. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think it'll be a very difficult read, so... Oh, I'm number 63 now on 5 copies. Somehow our library only managed to pick up 1 copy, so when I first put my name on the list, I was 63rd on the list for 1 copy, which could take years, but it looks like they've figured out that this is going to be a big hit, so they've purchased 4 other books. So that's another reason I like to put my name on for things, because if the library notices that there's huge interest in a book, then they'll get more copies in, so more people can read it in a more timely way. I guess I could just buy it myself, but I do try to use the library as much as possible. How do you decide what books to put on your list from the library, books to put on hold, whether you're ready to read them or not? Do you find that you put a lot of books on hold and then you let them lapse because you don't really have time to read as many books as you had planned on reading, or because you're in the middle of a lot of other books? I've been trying really hard not to fail to go pick up my books from the library, since we do have 7 days to pick them up. I'm interested to hear how everyone else does their library books, what they choose to put on hold, how they decide, and if they let their holds lapse without actually reading them. Bye!